good evening and welcome to EduWeave 2021, the online education expo being conducted by Bengaluru Schools Education Initiatives BSEI. My name is Manoj. Welcome to yet another very interesting topic, very relevant topic, which we are going to have a panel discussion on. Let me introduce our student volunteers who are supporting us in the running of this expo. Two of them are there as part of the backend team for this particular panel discussion. So we have Aditya Menon, who's joining us from Thrissur in Kerala, and Shubhangi, who's joining us for this panel discussion. So Shubhangi will do the introduction of the moderator, and then you can take it from there. Over to you, Shubhangi, for the introduction. All the very best. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful panel discussion. We're so glad to have you all here. I'm Shubhangi, and I'm a student volunteer, and I'd like to introduce the moderator of this panel discussion, Ms. Rakya Khan. She is a founder of Smiletastic. She is an internationally honored change maker, leading from chaos to clarity. She sees herself more as a smile strategist than a motivational speaker or a life coach. She is a wordsmith. She works with words, delivering stories in print and in stage. In 2016, Rakya presented a TEDx talk on the art of possibility. She is a master practitioner of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, and timeline therapy, and a certified life coach with the International Coaching Federation. Earlier this year, she presented Smile Strategy at the Gross Global Happiness Summit 2021. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shubhangi, for that intro. And I am so honored to be on this panel speaking on a subject that is so close to my heart. I am joined by Rashmi Balakrishnan. Rashmi is the chair of the Creative Movement Therapy Association of India, South Zone, and a council member of the Karnataka Mental Health Council. She's a creative movement and expressive art therapist practitioner, a youth mentor. She has had the opportunity to work with various populations like adolescents, women, children with risks, the LGBT community, people with disabilities, and various fellowship programs. She works with various modalities like movement, visual arts, storytelling, drama, music, and the ancient wisdom of feminine spirituality. Welcome, Rashmi, on the panel. Also, you are welcome. Thank you. We have Divya Mathur, who is a spiritual healer, a brand coach. She's a believer, entrepreneur, impacting and transforming lives. She's a brand coach by profession, spiritual healer by purpose, and a storyteller by passion. She is the founder of Divyark. Divyark in Sanskrit means divine brilliance, and started with an aim to help everyone in touch find their divine brilliance within and lead a life of love, and we've got Preet Benjamin Aarons. She's been the head primary and pre-primary, head of primary and pre-primary at InVenture Academy for the past 10 years, a founding member of InVenture Academy. She has over 2 decades of experience in the field of education. She's a passionate advocate for the importance of the voice of students and teachers, and believes that education today inculcating the 20th century skills in children. A champion of well-being and mental health, she has advocated and supported many related campaigns and initiatives at EduVenture. Truly an honor to have you. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome. So brilliant. We have a wealth of wisdom amongst us, and I would like for you to tell us a little bit more. I know I have given an intro, but I would like for you to share a little bit about yourselves, by yourself. So over to you, Rashmi. Let us know in just a little briefly, a little bit more of why you do what you do.
Sure, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I'm very grateful for this. Yeah, so I like the question you asked. Why do I do what I do? I think you already introduced me, and you said like things about me, and all of which I'm again very grateful to have been a part of, and I've been able to experience and offer back to the society. Um, it's been a constant learning journey for me since the time I was a child. And I think that's what's brought me here. All my experiences as a child, as a teenager, all the happy, fun, sad, traumatic experiences, all of it put together has made me who I am today. And today, when I say I work with dance movement therapy or I work with expressive arts and other modalities, um, my aim and my intention truly is to bring together safe spaces, to bring together safe spaces where everybody who is a part of it can be their authentic self, show up as their authentic self, and talk from their experiences, where everybody's experience is honored, respected. A child, an adult, whoever you are. The idea is to come here and to be able to feel held and be heard. And I think that's really what I really want to do. And my aim is to take this to schools, to take these to educational institutions, because that's where our future is, right? Like a
True.
bunch, all our future children spend a majority of their time in academic, in educational institutions. And yeah, I wish to kind of take this there and to see how we can also bring in a part of emotional intelligence or social skills and all of that put together to make it a
Beautiful.
holistic education. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And so true. It's our life experiences that shape us, and it's so vital to bring respect into the conversation. Thank you so much for sharing. Divya, over to you. Tell us, why do you do what you do?
Thank you, Rokia. And that was a beautiful experience that Rashmi shared. I think I would just be reiterating why I do what I do. Is also going back to my childhood, and a lot of this I discovered when my healing journey started. And every time we would heal some stuff about our lives, every time it would kind of land between this age of 0 to 10, and I was like, okay, that's where all of this is. We and in the normal life don't come across things as okay that it was formed in that time and getting reflected in this time and we got to go heal it there and stuff like that, right? So all the time when stuff comes up, when our life difficulties and things that are uncomfortable or hurt us or put us in pain in any way, most of the root cause of it is lying in our childhood, which is up to 10 years of age in most cases. And if if this is the time which is most vital, when children's foundational years are getting formed and their subconscious is really building up healthy patterns and habits and belief systems, working with them is the best time to do this, rather than waiting for them to become, whatever limiting patterns of their lives and eventually going and healing it as adults. But might as well start right now and create a slate from where these children are more shining. And that's why when I call my work divine brilliance, because we're all divine beings at the end of the day. We may acknowledge, may not, but our brilliance is out here. It just has to shine out. And we talk of, as kids, we talk about literacy, right? We talk about education, but has anybody ever looked at emotional literacy? Have you ever looked at emotional education? We are human beings and we are expected to be machines. And the difference between human beings and machines is that machines don't have emotions and we have emotions. Today, machines are capable of almost anything that a human can do, but they cannot feel. And
So true.
that's our superpower, and that's what we get to harness and heal and, and bring it out. So I think that's exactly why I do what I do. I work with emotions, be it with a child or an adult, and I help them discover the best of those things and create the life that they're looking to create.
So
And
powerful. And it's so important. I love what you said about emotional literacy. It is important, and that's why we are gathered here today to address mental health and children. Over to you, Manpreet. What is? I'm sorry. I just have to respect the 20 years. What can I say? And as educationalist, come on, own it. You are doing such great work. Please tell us, why do you do what you do?
Well, it was lovely listening to what Rashmi and Divya said, and I think essentially we're on the same page because I think we all believe in emotional health and in being happy. And it was never my intention to be in school or in education. My area of interest is actually psychology and mental health. But here I am. And why? Because I think this is the best way to impact the greatest number of people, number one. Secondly, of course, as Divya was saying, I think that they are the future. And if we can make the future a better place, if we can make people better for the future, um, then, you know, my personal goal will have been met. So, why school? And also, I'm very grateful to Inventure because we've been able to do a lot. I think they value the same things that I do, and which is basically that human beings, that people, and in our case, young people, students, and I deal with, you know, 3 to 10 years, 3 to 11 year olds, uh, that they need to feel safe, they need to feel secure, they need to feel happy. Only then can we transact this business of educating them, of them learning. How much is a child going to be able to absorb and internalize when they're worried about, you know, parents fighting at home, or somebody who is suffering from COVID, or some child who's going to be bullying them when the minute they get to school, or their fears and their anxieties. So the first thing is, I think, and as a school, we've been able to do a lot in this area. We go to the extent of calling our kids happy kids or happy school. And that was always the intent right from my first interview. Also building on our experience in school when we were half the time fearful. What will the teacher say? Will we get thrown out of class? Will they call me names in class? You know, so it's, in a way, it was a very military kind of atmosphere in schools, where first they strip you down, they break your spirit, and then they mold you again. But that's a huge risk. It works for some and it doesn't work for everyone. Instead, I believe that if you love children unconditionally, you have a far better chance of getting them to do what they need to do, or what you think is right for them to do. So kindness and love, I think those are important at Inventure, to the extent that we also have 4, well, we call them puppies, but they're big grown-up dogs now, that come to school. They're trained therapy dogs, and they are available for students to pet, to overcome their fear of animals. They get hugs.
I think we're having a little bit of a technical slag there. So with as Preet comes back online, okay, there was a little bit of a glitch there.
Me, I'm so sorry.
We lost you. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. So
Right.
it's like technology has its own surprises, and that was a great space to take a pause. I'd like to ask anybody from the panel, and you can voice your perspective on this. How do you differentiate between the need for mental health attention and a tantrum? How do you identify between the two? What are the indicators that a child is in need for mental health attention? It's open to anybody who would like to take it up.
Rukia, I would like to just share how I would see that.
Yes, please.
Any kid, and I think we've grown up in an age where kids would be referred as naughty and stuff like that, and we did have tags, as Preet mentioned, that the tags are a very regular way of calling kids out on whatever behavior we saw. But frankly, any the most basic need for a child is love and safety and support. We may say it's roti kapda makan, but it actually is not. It's really love, support, and safety, and the rest of them actually fall in line eventually as things come around. But however, so the tantrum or any kid who's really acting out, the need is actually for love. The need always is for love. That need is of nothing else, just for love. And the need is always that just accept me as I am. I'm learning to get better from here, but just take me as I am right now. And the tantrum, because the parents, most often parents or caregivers, whoever are primary caregivers, the pattern has been such that the child only ends up getting love, perceived love, but attention when he or she is not behaving the best as understood by the parent. So what happens is there are neural pathways, there are these brain wiring that happens in our mind. That wiring tells the child that only when I do this kind of thing will they love me. And the moment he or she sees that happening for a few times, it's like, okay, yeah, this is the formula to get loved. Behave this way and you are loved. And that actually is not love. But then for the child, the attention is that attention is love. So that already is a need for mental health attention. When a child is going through a tantrum, when there is a difficult situation in any way, that already is a need to address mental health or emotional health of that child, because he or she is seeking something which is not available to them at this point.
True. So we sometimes do brush away tantrums, brush away the need for attention as a tantrum. And that was obviously a trick question. So thank you, Divya, for beautifully addressing it. What would Preet and Rashmi like to add to that?
So, yeah, I pretty much resonate with what Divya just shared, and it's more like tantrum is the symptom, but the root cause is something else. And we tend to, it's very normal for all of us to kind of try and address the symptom. It's like having a headache and having a fever and eating Dolo for the fever, but actually there's something else it's at the root of it. You know, it could be an infection. So it's just like that. That tantrum is just the symptom, and what the child needs is probably something else, and that needs to begin with attention, giving the child attention, talking to the child, sitting with the child, probably not when the child is really doing a tantrum, but we have to kind of bring the focus of the child elsewhere at that point and then have this conversation with the child. Yeah, definitely they are connected.
Thank you. Preet, would you like to add anything to this?
Okay, I'd love to, but I kind of missed the question. I'm sorry, I was having internet issues.
No issues. So basically what I wanted to understand was, is there a difference between a tantrum and the need for mental health awareness or attention? Because sometimes as parents, we shrug it off saying they're just throwing a tantrum. So yeah, so that's where I was taking the panel.
Yeah, I think I'd like to say that a tantrum is basically a coping mechanism. You know, when the triggers get too much for the child, they sort of have this meltdown, they can't cope, and so therefore they have a tantrum. That, yes, as both Rashmi and Divya said, that is their way asking for attention. But I wouldn't say it's a mental health issue. It will be if parents are not able to manage it and sort of extinguish that behavior pattern. It could become an issue, but it's very normal. I mean, that's just the way a child, usually nonverbal children, communicate.
So yes, it is a cry for attention. It is something that's building up. Now tell me, why is mental health itself important? Open to the floor. Anybody can take it up.
Yeah, I can go and try.
Go for it.
Yes. So mental health is like, it's like physical. So we are so used to asking somebody, how are you feeling? And the person will say, I'm fine. And then I feel like asking, fine in which aspect, like, are you saying you're physically fine, or are you saying you're emotionally fine? And also fine, right? To say I'm happy, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm bindas, I'm great. These are the terms. So our emotional vocabulary itself is like really limited, our emotional vocabulary. And I think it's important to kind of have this, because everything that a child or a person experiences contributes to their emotional well-being or their mental health. And when we don't, like, we sort of disregard it when somebody says, I'm feeling a little lost today, oh, let's go for a party. If you're an adult, let's go have ice cream and you'll feel better, which is all great. And these are coping mechanisms, and sometimes it helps us. But to really address what you're feeling, and that should be something that I feel like should be inculcated from a very young age. When I was young, I don't think I was asked, how are you feeling, Rashmi, like, how did you feel? How are you feeling now? Are you crying? If I'm throwing a tantrum, then I'm a rebellious girl.
Mm.
I've been a rebellious teenager throughout my teenage. But nobody really asked me why I rebelled.
Right.
Nobody really asked me what caused this. So,
Mhm.
and I wish somebody spoke to me when I was younger, that I had better vocabulary, I had a better way of expression of all this than at the age of 26 and 27 when I had to go into therapy and then work on myself.
Mm.
That's when I started learning things on myself. So I think, yeah, mental health is really important to be. It's like it's a part of education. If you're teaching a child how to write ABC, let's also teach them ABCs of mental health, of emotional well-being.
Mm.
Yeah, that's really important, I feel. Yeah.
So I'm just going to, because you spoke of education, I'm just going to take it to Preet and ask her if there could be an ABC of mental health, what would that be? You will have to unmute.
Yeah. So I think that mental health deals with how we think, how we feel, and how we act. So is that
Mhm.
ABC? Okay. Um, what we do at Adventures now, we're calling it mental, we're calling it well-being. Okay.
Yes.
Which is a little bit more positive take on mental health. Somehow
Yes.
mental health gives us the impression that there's something wrong, that a person is not coping. But with well-being, we're talking more about addressing not even issues, addressing life proactively and positively. So,
Mm.
you do life skills with kids. So one of the things that we do a lot of is sports, because you learn resilience, you learn how to lose, you learn how to deal with loss, with failure, and then to get back up and keep playing, to keep trying to reach your goal. Um, you also learn through sports is to use your team to bolster each other up, to support and encourage each other. And when you have somebody that you can depend on, then life is so much easier. So basically, the idea is for students to realize their potential, to learn how to deal with normal stresses, to work productively, and then probably give back to community, because that also contributes to mental health, to well-being.
Mm.
Um, when you mentioned ABC, are you asking me for a how-to?
No, I thought if you could come, I mean, just a very random, I just thought maybe if there's an A and a B and a C that you could come up with on the spot, that should be interesting. But it's
I think it's how students process, how people process, and how people react to situations.
right.
That is an indicator really of mental health.
Yes. And for me, as I hear you, I'm seeing that you are at the school are shifting the conversation from making mental health about being unwell to being well.
Yes, to
Right?
proactively work at staying well.
Yes. So being well, and it's not about just mental health and an ailment or something that a child might be dealing as a challenge, but to show them and empower them that they are so much more capable and there's so much potential in there. So thank you. So as a parent, what are the indicators that we need to be looking out for when a child might be undergoing some challenge? And Divya, if open to you, you haven't spoken in a bit.
Well, as a mom, I think mostly I look. My son's is an expressive kid. He expresses both through art and also through words. So he's as well talkative. So I think for me, the first sign is usually to see when he's too retired in his room. and he's pretty silent. And he doesn't generally, when he's hurt, he doesn't generally open up very fast. He would open up for everything else, but when he's hurt, he wouldn't. So the moment you would go kind of ask me, he ask him, he would be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. And probably a little bit more probing, he starts crying. You know, so I think what's really been important for me is to never tell him that don't cry. I've in fact always told him that cry. It's a healthy thing. First release that emotional charge that you're right now in, and then let's clear. Once our emotional charge is away, then our mind will have a little bit more space to understand where are we headed with this situation, whatever that situation may be, right? So otherwise, I think a lot of times when we tell them not to cry, we're actually shutting down the capacity to even solve what's at hand, and probably creating a behavior of avoidance maybe, or overlooking our emotions or overlooking what's coming up. So one way for me to find out when he's not in his spirit is clearly when he's pretty silenced out. The other way is when there's a lot of irritation, and you can see a lot of body movements, because body movements are how children regulate themselves. We'll see and we've also all done it, moving our feet, moving our hands, and trying to do some kind of things. So when there's excessive activity with the body, that's when we can also, at least I can figure out that there's something that he's processing, and then how can I support him during that conversation, or whatever that situation may be.
Yeah, and when it comes to expression, and I do know Rashmi does a lot of, expressive art is her strength. So tell us a little more about this so that we can understand it better, Rashmi.
So, based like what Divya said, as a mother, I think I always have my like antenna up, and I'm like thinking, okay, is everything okay? Like the moment I have two daughters, so they say something, there's a change in their expression, and I'm like, what's happening? Sometimes it's like too much, and sometimes I just have to say, Rashmi, let it go, let them experience some things, and we'll figure it out together. But yeah, the first thing is to really have a conversation, to kind of ask them, are you okay? And they'll say yes. And then I'll ask another time, are you okay? What's happening? And by the time I ask this question 2-3 times, something is going to come up. And to really just hold space for whatever is coming up. I think it's also my practice that has taught me to be that way, that no matter what they say, no matter what maybe they're going to say something way different from what's happening for them right now, and I'm okay. If that's what's ready to be dealt with at this point, then as an adult in their life, I'm going to just hold space for that. And I'm going to slowly get to what's really working for them. And yes, so I also like using colors and art and everything. And I tell them, use some colors. And I have this habit of sitting together with them and just making art. So I'm not a great artist or anything, but I work with expressive art. So I use art to express. So I use the same with my children. So we all sit together, take huge chart papers, and just like do whatever we want. So it is quite challenging for me, because as a mother, my children are in school and they have a certain outlook of what is nice. Art needs to be perfect, art needs to be pretty, art needs to be within the lines and all of that. But as a practitioner, I want to tell them all that is not important. What's important is what you're feeling, and just do whatever is authentic for you, just do that. So I'm constantly in this dilemma of like, what will the art teacher say if the art teacher looks at it? And I am an art practitioner, so for me it's important. But as a mother, I let them go crazy with their colors and whatever they want to. So and sometimes just playing music and dancing with them, when we are feeling a little low, or all of us, the energy in the home is a little low, then I just play music and all of us dance together. So these are ways of me regulating myself, and I try to use it like with my daughters. Yeah, we just try. Yeah, every day learning.
Brilliant. I like that. Every day is a learning. So, Preet, what about at school and also in the home environment? What are some indicators that we need to keep an eye out for, and how do we deal with them? Because in a larger community as a school, there could be instances of bullying. In fact, there could even be bullying between siblings. So it's not just limited to the learning space. What are your thoughts on this? You're on mute, please. Yes.
Severely technologically challenged today. I'm sorry, I shifted to the
No,
phone because my internet was misbehaved. Yeah, I think that definitely students manifest signs, and if we're tuned in, we can pick up on these quite easily. We have seen that students isolate themselves, especially older kids. They don't want to be with other people. They withdraw online. They turn their cameras off because they're upset about something. So that's a struggle to get them to get back into mainstream. Sometimes they're very emotional. They can cry at the drop of a hat. They're sort of on the edge a little bit, or they're irritable. So they flare up at the least possible provocation. Um, Sometimes when there's bullying involved, I think there's school refusal. They don't want to go to school. They get up crying and say, I don't want to go to school. And I take that very personally because I think that obviously there's something troubling the child. And as a school and parents, we can work on that. We can work it out together. So I think especially younger kids are not always able to articulate what they're feeling. When you move into middle school, it's about peer pressure. They don't want to be the snitch, or they don't want to appear uncool. So there are always these forces that are working against us in terms of not being able to reach students so easily. It is a challenge, but it's something that one needs to be done. At Inventure, what we have worked on, and especially in these 21 months that we've been online, on the great teacher student connect. So even if we got 2.5 hours online, half an hour of that was just class teacher time, so that students felt anchored, so that they felt heard, they felt seen, and there was this go-to person. Also, the need that met was the need to socialize, to be social, to be connected with each other. So circle time, where you can talk to each other, or you can raise an issue. Other people help you with their suggestions, with their support. So that helped a lot. Of course, we did lots of other things. We bumped up our number of counselors, so we have 4 now. And then we started all these programs for students. We did something last year called Mindful Mondays. So Divya will like this, because as simple as just having a cup of hot cocoa in front of you, and then paying attention to um, the steam rising, or the smell, or the texture. Just being mindful, being aware, and being present is a good habit for young people to inculcate, because then they can get in touch with their feelings more easily. This year we did Wellbeing Wednesdays, where small video by the counselor on things like courage, empathy, bravery, etc. And then the discussion in the class. And they even did something called a personal weather report. The older kids are doing a lot more. We have 12 peer counselors on campus trained. They go through 15 hours of training. And we have, of course, the 4 counselors for individual and group counseling. There are awareness sessions. There is student-led Mind Matters, which are podcasts.
Wow.
And playlists. Yeah. Some other students are doing a Dear Teenager podcast, which deals with issues like love and sexuality for older kids, of course. There's a newsletter to the entire community, Valuethon, where we're talking about values, kindness. So these are all activities that students engage in, and we hope that they will internalize, and that it will make them more actualized, sorted individuals.
Love it. Love that. And it's so powerful when a child has a safe space. That is so important and significant, that they feel heard, they feel that those feelings that they're having are validated. Because often it's seen, when you keep invalidating a child's feelings and rubbishing it, then they begin to get confused about their feelings. They begin to themselves invalidate those feelings, and they wonder whether it's okay to feel not okay. So any thoughts that the panel would like to share about safe spaces and the significance of it? Maybe Rashmi or Divya could take it up.
Sure. So, yeah, as I said earlier, it's really my intention to be able to hold safe spaces for adults and children alike. And I think safe spaces are so important. And sometimes when we say the word safe spaces, I've seen people just take it very lightly, like, yeah, like it's safe, our home is safe. Yeah. And that's, as a parent, that's exactly what I want. I want my home to be the safe space for my child. But what is really happening, and it's not really anybody's fault, so there's no blame game here, because parenting doesn't have a perfect guide out there, right? Like, this is how you become the best mother. I don't know how to do that. I'm learning. My older daughter is 11-year-old, so I'm an 11-year-old mother. Yeah, so I'm just an 11-year-old mother. I can make mistakes. I can do things that might later she might go and talk to a therapist about, and I know, I'm aware of it. That's very much possible. But still, to try and hold that safe space, to say that I'm here for you. I keep telling that to my children, that we may disagree, I might not have the same views on some of the things that you say. I might say no to things, and you're going to throw a tantrum. We know this is going to happen, but I'm going to be here. Despite of all that, I'm going to be here for you. So whatever happens, you can come to me. And I feel, even when I hold safe spaces for children, especially over the last 2 years, I've been holding safe spaces for children online. And the intention of those safe spaces, I call them trust circles, is trust. I tell them the base of this is trust. And trust is not something I can bring into a circle. It's not my responsibility. I can hold it for you, but each of you need to show the trust in the space. And I must say that every trust circle over the last 2 years, I've held like quite a few trust circles, engaged with about 40 children continuously, and they've always taught me something. I just leave the space open for a topic to come up by itself. Some child is going to come up with some topic, or a teenager is going to come up with a topic, and I say, let's go with that. Let's just go with that. And I try and add my expressive arts and drama and all of that to hold it. But what really they talk and their experiences, and I've realized that they don't want advice from me. They don't want gyan from me. They don't need anything. They just want to be heard and held.
True.
I think that's the biggest gift I can give as an adult to another child or a teenager, to just be there.
So true.
Safe space.
Yeah. May I?
Divya? Yes, please.
Well, Divya can go ahead if she likes. No? Okay.
Please share, and then I'm sure Divya will add to it.
Okay. Yeah, when you mentioned the word safe spaces, my first thing was that, of course, it's the physical aspect from a school's point of view. Are they physically safe? Can they get lost, or can they get separated from the class, or can things happen to them that we don't want? But I think also emotional space. It should be safe emotionally. And for that, quite simply, I think they just need unconditional acceptance and love. And they just need us to be non-judgmental, to give them the space to make mistakes and not be judged for it. And it's as simple as that, I think.
True. Thank you. Yes, Divya.
Well, I feel for this, I would really love to share an example which just happened between me and my son recently. And we did have a bit of a thing to go through. So my son's 10, and of course he's in the preteens, and he's developing his own opinions and thoughts and stuff like that. And recently I shifted houses. And because I shifted houses, his base was moved and he felt unsafe. Not really physically, the house was safe, everything was fine, but he felt very emotionally unsafe. And of course, what we see on the surface is what they say on the surface is always not what it is we are dealing with. We're dealing with something else. So what he told me was how he came across to me was that he hates me and he didn't want to live with me anymore, and he didn't want a mother at all. He's like, I do not want you in my life. I just hate you and I don't want to be here. I need to go from here. And I think, and I'm really grateful for what practice I have learned over the years with my healing work and my coaching work. I did not take it personally. And mostly as parents, we tend to take things as, oh my God, they said this and stuff like that. I did not take it personally. Yes, it did hurt me. But at that moment, I told him, it's fine. If you're feeling you hate me, that's okay. If you're feeling you don't want to live with me, that's fine. But let's just understand, where is this coming from? And he told me, you've already solved half of the thing for me, because I did not even know how to say this to you, because if I would have said this to you, you might have just blasted. I said, I don't see a reason for me to blast around it. All I want to understand is, why is there a feeling or whatever feeling you're feeling? And let's just, because every feeling comes for a reason, is here to teach us something. Let's learn the lessons and let's move on with it. And let's understand what can we change in our day-to-day, behavior. Maybe there's any changes I can bring in. Maybe any changes we can together bring in. And, stuff like that, and make this a more pleasant experience. So when we talk about safe space, I think it's a lot of stuff to create just an environment for expression. Like Rashmi said, they're not looking for us to solve their life, quite frankly. They are pretty intelligent, they're very intuitive to understand what they would like to do with their lives. In most cases, all they're looking for is someone to stand tall with them when they need someone to stand tall with them.
Right.
And hold that space. And I think that's the biggest safety that we can provide. I'm sure as parents, we're all doing our part to give them physical safety, to give them safe food, to give them safe, clothing and all of that stuff that we could see on the physical level. But when we talk about this emotional and mental safety, I think it's a lot to do with the fact that we have to start, as parents, we detach ourselves from the fact of whatever they are going through. It's their journey and there is stuff that they will go through, and we just hold their space. And that's all the safety that we can offer. And that's just me sharing as a parent. And I felt that would be best explained in an example, because the root cause, the surface, he was expressing hatred towards me, but the root cause was a lack of safety because of shifting, because of something that came as a change in his life. But he could not comprehend that.
Yep.
For him to comprehend that, I had to offer that space to express, and then could he get to that point, okay, this is the problem and we got to sort this out, right?
So thank you, Divya, for sharing that. That was definitely a very delicate situation, and kudos to you for managing it so beautifully. And I think what is coming for me as an awareness here is, you did not judge yourself as a mother from the hatred. You detached yourself, you dissociated yourself from his feelings, and then you were able to look deeper and you were able to have that conversation. Now, not all parents will be at that level of awareness. So what is something that, again, open to the entire, anyone from the panel, what is something that parents can do so that they cannot make it about themselves? If a child requires to be mentally well, how can a parent not take it upon themselves that it's their fault? How can they not judge themselves for that? How can they feel safe?
Can I share another conversation?
Yes, by all means. We've got another 15 minutes on the call. Yes, let's do this.
So
and before you start, I have a surprise last question for the three of you. So I'm going to leave room for that.
Yes, I'll make it really quick, and it's really not long. So what happened, a couple of days back, I told him that, I have this panel discussion about children and mental health. And he said, yeah, so what is it? I said, can you tell me what do we do with this? What should I be talking about? And he's like, you do this is your profession, you should know this. I said, no, I am asking, it's children and mental health. You are children. You tell me what should I be talking about. It's not about me, right? I'm an adult, I've gone through that phase, but it's about you. You tell me what to do. So you know what he said? He said, make it funny. And I was like, what are you trying to say? Make it funny. And then I again asked him, and again he said, make it funny. I said, what do you mean? I mean, we're not narrating a cartoon out here. I mean, we could always try creating a cartoon and explaining certain situations, but that's not always at hand. You know what he said? And I loved it, and I really wanted to bring it here.
Yes,
He said, you know, whatever you're going to be communicating, do you want them to remember it or not? I said, yes. He said, you want them to remember, you make it funny because children remember jokes. I was like, okay, now this is a piece of wisdom that I had really not gotten in my head. So I think, yes, I think as parents to detach, if we are able to find fun in that situation, and I'm not meaning to say that we make fun of that situation or we make it a joke or a laughing stock. All I'm trying to say is if we are able to really find, if we're able to really find that little bit of fun element in that situation, however severe it may be, there is always a ray of fun and happiness we can find in any situation. I think that will help parent detach.
Yeah.
You know,
and wisdom indeed, wise words indeed, and children tell us the most profound things because they're so in the moment. They're so in the moment and they're not taking themselves seriously. I think as parents, we overrate the need to be right, and there we mess it up. Any thoughts, Rashmi, Preet?
Thing that I believe is that as a parent, every time something happens between my child and me, initially there was a time when it was not like this, and I used to get really overworked and get angry and get and cry. And even today, I cry. So crying, getting angry, I've given myself full permission for it because I again, this is something that they need to know that it's okay to cry, it's okay to get angry, it's okay to feel all your emotions. And then I go back and apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was really angry, and that's why I told you that. But it was my anger. But also for me to remember that when something triggers me, to turn inward and to see what's really happening to me, what is bothering me. And sometimes I often see that there's a 7-year-old little Rashmi inside who is hurt, and she is operating, and I'm operating from that girl, that girl who was triggered at that point, who was not seen, who was not heard. And so it's like as a parent, I'm constantly aware that I have 3 children I'm taking care of, my 2 daughters and the little Rashmi inside. And I'm very, very aware of it. And I think as a parent, sometimes when I get triggered, I turn towards myself and I say, oh, it's time to take care of this little girl and not girl outside. So it is a lot of self-work. As a parent, I feel detaching, and whatever Divya said, it's Divya's years of practice that's brought her here. And to be able to say that it's me also sometimes. And whenever I have friends tell me things, I tell them sometimes just like hold the mirror up and look at yourself and just see how that feels. Probably that's the way we need to work, and not always trying to fix children. It's not needed to fix children.
I love that. Not essential to always jump into fix-it mode. Thank you for sharing. Yes, Preet, all yours.
Yeah, sometimes people joke that to be a parent should probably have a system where they have to get a license or something like that. Because though we do it naturally, it's not always the best way. And you can't blame the parents for that, because as Rashmi was saying, we all carry emotional baggage, we carry scars. And also, I think the instinct is to parent the way we were parented. I mean, the way our parents taught us or instilled values in us, or good habits and things like don't waste and how do you handle money and things like that. However, personally, I feel that the world has changed so much. It has evolved so much now. And I think that the way we parent has to also change. And we, as parents, we need to educate ourselves. So like I try and watch, I have a 26-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I need to watch their TV programs to understand what mind space they're in, and what they think is okay and what is acceptable and not acceptable. So I think the learning never stops, even as parents. The more evolved parents sort of keep in touch. People like Rashmi, Divya are very reflective, you know, and they unpack stuff that they have been, that like Rashmi was talking about, the little Rashmi inside her. She becomes aware of it, and therefore she can also cope with it. She can make sure that she doesn't just pass that on to her children, her child, right? So there's a lot of work to be done. Sadly, though, as parents, as a school, when we have these parent awareness sessions, how to speak, how to talk so your child will listen to you, or you know, your developing emotional intelligence in your child or stuff. These kind of awareness sessions that we have occasionally, the turnout is really poor. I mean, we're assuming that either it's not a very high priority, or people don't feel the need for it.
It's strange. I mean, I think sometimes we want to play it by the ear, take it a day at a time. Sometimes we make mistakes and then we realize later. For me personally, my parenting style has been more of, okay, I don't want to do what my mom did, but I do want to do more of what my dad did. So that awareness was there, and I think that's why I am the kind of mom that I am, and I'm grateful for both, for the upbringing I've had. It shaped me to be the mother that I am. Alhamdulillah. So now, knowing that we are 9 minutes short to close, I'm going to spring the surprise question at you all. And very interestingly, we've segued beautifully in the conversation. I'd like to again thank the platform for giving us this space to share such an important conversation, a topic. And I do hope many parents watch us on the live and on the replay if they can, because this is a very, very powerful conversation, wealth of wisdom and such authentic sharing. Now, what is that piece of advice that you would like to give your 7-year-old self? Because of picking up from what you have been speaking, 0 to 10 seems to be the time that has been the most impactful. So I thought, because Rashmi said the 7-year-old, let me just pick that 7-year-old who understands, who articulates, and can sometimes throw a tantrum. What would you like to tell your 7-year-old self that would be valuable for you today? Give it a thought. Yes, please. Yes, please. Preet, go for it.
So I would, well, if I was 7 again, I would tell myself that you don't have to be perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. Go for it. And the second thing I would say is, don't worry so much about what other people think. Because I think that defined a lot of what I did or how I felt about myself.
One more piece. Let's keep it at 3. 3 is a power number.
Oh, I have to give 3.
Yes. Well, I said 1, but you said 2. So I said, okay, let's up the game. One more.
To be adventurous.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Rashmi, Divya, which one of you? Okay. Thank you, Rashmi.
I would like to tell the 7-year-old inside me that I love her a lot. I love her a lot, and she deserves so much love in abundance. I'd like to tell her that she's not responsible for anything that happened to her. She's not responsible. She does not have to feel guilty or feel, oh, it's because of me. No, it's not because of her. And I want her to know that today she has a safe place, and I will always stand up for her. I will always stand by her, stand up for her more than anybody else in this world. And I love her the most beyond anybody else.
Beautiful. Thank you. Divya?
I think I would just do like a copy paste with Rashmi and Preet in bits and pieces. But however, I think one point that I would definitely like to say is that I would tell my 7-year-old self would be that their parents are not God. They're as imperfect that they can be, and their view of you is not the you are, you know. because yeah, so that's the one. And another thing that I would tell her, that she's adorable. She's totally, like she's got all that it needs in life, and that she can do anything. There are no limitations. That will be my 3 things that I would tell myself.
Beautiful. And how would that impact the advice that each of you gave your 7-year-old self? How would it have impacted you moving forward had you had heard this at that time? What would you have done differently? Preet, just in maybe 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah, I think I wouldn't have been such a closed person. I think that I would have taken more chances, and I don't have any regrets, but I would have been I would have probably got more out of life. I feel that I started doing that much later.
Thank you. Rashmi?
Yeah, again, like what Preet said, I don't think I have any regrets. I'm happy with whatever has happened to me, and that's what's made me who I am. So I'm okay. But yeah,
Right.
that she would have been more of herself. She would have had more courage in being herself and showing up to the world, being her true, authentic self. That would have happened definitely much earlier on, which happened like so many years later. She would have done that long ago.
Beautiful. Thank you. Divya?
I think one thing that stands out very clearly right now as you ask this is that I would have sought support long back. Long back. Yeah.
Let's just let that sink in. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. So again, gratitude for being on this panel and this amazing conversation, which is so important in today's world as we all grow up every day, day after day, not just as the children, but also the inner child within each one of us. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Manoj, for the appearance.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy I joined after the quiz program was over. I was waiting for you to ask me some questions otherwise. Thank you, Rukia, for that.
Actually, I won't let you go. We have 3 minutes.
No. Time is over.
No. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And I threw a surprise question at them.
I heard that question. I was very much here.
Okay, very good. So answer that question for us. What would you tell
Want me to go
7-year-old
back to
7-year-old Manoj? What would you tell 7-year-old Manoj?
I would tell the 7-year-old Manoj to be Manoj. What I don't miss a single thing. My best nostalgic moments were when I was 7 years or 8 years old. So I just loved my childhood. I probably would tell a 46-year-old Manoj to be a 7-year-old Manoj. That's what I probably would say. But if I need to answer the question that way, yes, I would say climb as many trees as possible, jump into as many ponds as possible, catch as many fish as possible. So that's all about childhood. We grew up in a time when there was no gadgets, so there was no problem. So when the power used to go off, that used to be celebration time, because then we go out, sit in a candle light, and just look at the stars and do nothing. So those were days. 10:30 there used to be a Ceylon radio show. You can hear that. So those were nostalgic moments that I still carry with me dear. And I wish my children get that kind of an experience. Unfortunately not, but yeah, that's so just be yourself as a 7-year-old. You don't need to be a 17-year-old when you're a 7-year-old. Just be the 7-year-old. That's it.
Lovely. And if this 46-year-old could be that 7-year-old, how would that change things for you? How would the conversation change for you?
I'm quite a 7-year-old even now. Not
yeah. Actually, yes.
Very much there. Ever since I turned 30, I've been growing the other way, reverse. So I'm almost at 7 now. So I'm enjoying every single moment of my life. So absolutely no regrets, and I love to be that perpetually 7-year-old.
Lovely. Thank you so much again, everyone, for the conversation. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much
for the
opportunity.
this. Beautifully done. I was sitting here and hearing quite a lot of discussion there, and quite a lot of personal, candid discussions came up, which was very, very nice. Thank you so much, Rashmi, for being in this panel. Divya and Preet ma'am, a special thanks to InVenture team for being so supportive to us in terms of being patrons in the expo and being part of quite a lot of things that we are doing together. So lovely to have Team Inventure as part of this big collaboration that we are having. So please do pass our regards to entire team Inventure. I know you are part of the founding team there. So please do pass my entire regards to all of them who are there in Inventure, and fabulous job you are all doing. RK, I am looking forward to your 1500th episode very soon.
Yes.
Absolutely. So probably would, but you know this, right? Ellen DeGeneres and all, they keep calling back people.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm just telling you that. Yeah.
That-
And whenever you need a
that's-
7-year-old to be in your discussion, please think of
I
me.
will. Definitely. That was one of the more popular ones. And hats off and congratulations to EduWeave.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
we
you,
sign off
EduWeave.
now. We sign off now.
Yeah.
Just for everybody listening in the auditorium, 6:30, we are going to start with a musical evening that is going to be organized by SAPA, Subramaniam Academy of Performing Arts, which is going to host that for us at 6:30. So do join in for that. The link is right at the lobby, so you can go there, click on the link and join in. Thank you so much and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.